What's up, Broncos, and welcome back to a very special episode of the Poly Podcast. I'm, of course, your co-host, Nick Talamante, and joining me as always is...
Andy Foreman. What's up, everyone? Congrats on finishing the semester. We are almost there.
Almost, guys. We only have 1 or 2 weeks left, so we're right there at the finish line, folks. It's been a crazy year, but we're almost done. I promise the end is in sight.
Everybody stay strong. Everybody stay strong because we're almost there. Nobody could have predicted this type of semester, but we all made it through. So finish strong.
Exactly. You made it this far. You might as well finish, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, we didn't put in this much time, but for nothing. But
Exactly.
considering that it is towards the end of the semester, this is actually going to be an episode that wraps up our second season of the show. And to do so, we are being joined by two very, very special guests. They were actually elected earlier this year to Cal Poly's student government, and they've been serving during what is probably the craziest semester in any of our academic careers. The Poly Podcast is very, very, very proud to welcome ASI Student Body President Lucy Yu and Vice President Manshaan Singh.
That's right, Andy. With that being said, Broncos, we're going to jump right into it with our season finale. Enjoy. Lucy and Manshaan, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Of course. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. So for this interview, me and Andy want to have a conversation with you guys. We want to get to know you more, and we're going to kind of break this up into two different sections. The first is going to be a little more personal because a lot of people know you, but they know you as ASI officials. They don't really know you as the people, as actual Lucy and Manshaan. So we want to start off with a little personal questions, nothing too crazy, but we do want to get people to know you a little bit better.
No, please ask us anything. We're open books.
Hey, appreciate that then. It's perfect. So kicking things off then, from the both of you, I wanted to know, and we can start with you, Lucy. Where are you from? What was your upbringing like?
Great question. Great question. And I love that question. It's kind of, the backstory of every person. So originally I'm from Northern California, was actually born in Virginia because my dad was in the Navy for 20 years. And we moved out to Monterey for him to work at the Naval Postgraduate School up north. And we've been here ever since. My two little sisters were born in Monterey. My middle sister goes to college up north now. My youngest sister is a freshman in high school. So the family's up north. I came down to Southern California for school, and I fell in love with it right off the bat. I'm obsessed with Los Angeles. That is where I hope to really kind of take off my career and raise a family there one day. Definitely a California at heart, but recently New York has been catching my eye a little bit. But yeah, no, in love with Southern California, but originally from Monterey Bay.
Awesome. And Manshaan, brother, where are you from? What's your story?
For sure. So from Pomona. I was born in Whittier, been born and raised in Pomona, but I actually went to I kind of switched out of school districts and went to Diamond Bar High School, which is it's still local. It's in Diamond Bar. And yeah, both my parents, they're from India. My mom immigrated here when she was 15, I think. They actually came right here to Upland, where they've been since. And my dad, he came here. He married my mom and then came here, and we basically just been living here since then. I've been in the same house since I was 4 months old. I didn't know, Lucy, you were born in Virginia. That's crazy.
Yes,
I don't know.
sir. I know. And a lot of people, I'll tell my friends that, and they're like, what? Are you kidding? I had no idea. But yeah, I actually was. I don't remember it at all, but yeah, fun fact.
Yeah.
Looks like we're all learning something today.
Yep.
Nice. I appreciate, Manshaan, appreciate you being an IE guy, as someone who's lived in kind of this area all over the IE. I appreciate somebody being from P-Town, being from Upland, being from
yeah, what it is, man.
No shade to you, Lucy.
No. Don't worry. I know there's a big rivalry between NorCal and SoCal, but just don't tell me that. But I will stand on SoCal side any day of the week.
Yeah, it's not much of a rivalry anyway. We're definitely ahead.
Yeah, right. It's no
Oh my God.
No comparison.
Disneyland and the beaches down here, so
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. And it comes to basketball, Warriors versus Lakers. Actually, let's not mention Lakers. I don't want to get Manshaan started.
Right. Don't want to start that flame war, but you already know where you stand.
Exactly.
So I wanted to ask you guys, just given everything that's going on right now, What has your experience been like with the pandemic? We have a lot of focus on our students, especially with the poly post this year. We've been covering a lot of different angles when it comes to pandemic, but I really want to know from ASI officials, like separating you from your job, how have you guys personally been handling the pandemic?
You want to go first?
Sure. So it was really interesting. Like, when we first, I think you guys were enrolled like, back in spring, right? When we went, yeah. The last day we were on campus was like the day that me and Lucy like found out like that we got elected, that we found out that, we were elected president VP. And then after that, like, it was like, all right, you're gonna be home from now on. And I think in the beginning it was definitely like kind of lost motivation, to like really do anything. I was just kind of lazing around the house, and I saved all my classes were like, hey, yeah, we're pushing all the deadlines back to like the last week. So just kind of saved all my schoolwork for like, those last 2 weeks before finals. Um, but I'm pretty fortunate. So because I was still able to kind of maintain like a social life through Zoom. I'm a part of this like, organization called the United Sikh Movement, and we kind of started having a lot of classes and like a lot of get-togethers just over Zoom. And I actually met people who I would not have been able to meet like if we were in person, because we weren't doing stuff like that. So in that sense, it was pretty good. But then, as the pandemic drags on, it's like it gets harder and harder to like want to like be on Zoom, right? At first there's like that novelty where you're like, oh yeah, Zoom's cool, right? You can meet so many people. But then it's like, when you have classes and meetings all day, it's like, do you really want to get on Zoom, even if it's just to socialize?
Yeah.
So that's been, difficult. I think we've all had a difficult time like keeping up with our social lives during this time.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. And the last day I literally saw Manshaan in person was the day we got elected. And it's weird. And I was thinking about this the other day. I think we were celebrating for what, 15, 20 minutes in Ursa Minor. And he was like, hey, I got to run to another meeting. I was like, okay, no worries. We went our separate ways. And literally ever since then, we hadn't seen each other in person. And that's kind of crazy, especially watching the president and vice president from last year, where you're talking, you're with each other, you're in each other's offices every single day. And don't get me wrong, Manshaan and I, we talk every single day. I think that I talk to him more than I talk to my parents. Again, don't tell mom and dad. But when we went virtual, all of a sudden our lives had to shift, not only as students, but as these newly elected ASI officers, of how are we going to do this? We went from having an administration in person to trying to move everything online. So it was definitely a big transition process for us. And a lot of it was scary because no one was in a good mental place when all of that was happening. Nobody was, excited about, oh my gosh, I don't get to see my friends for the next few months. No one had that attitude. So I personally got nervous of like, how am I supposed to lead a student body virtually? How am I supposed to be a leader of hope when I didn't feel hope myself? And I realized after actually talking to the CPP social media team that being honest about my experience of how at first I wasn't hopeful. At first I wasn't, excited to be virtual. I can't stand in front of the students and lie and just be like, oh, everything's going to be great. Everything will be fine. It's going to be the same exact way. It's truthfully the transparency and being honest with administration, with faculty, with most importantly, our students, saying, yeah, like this is going to be a different year, but nonetheless, whatever happens, we will be here at the end of the day. Don't get me wrong. We may be in the corner, like freaking out with you, but we will still be here. So personally for me, a few days after our election and after our entire university went virtual, I went back up to Monterey Bay. And so that way I could be with my family. Turns out I was up there for 5 or 6 months, I believe. And there are pros and cons to that. I'm very close with my family, but also living in the same house and doing work and doing school and trying to be as social as possible virtually. And also trying to get along with my family at the same time. It was very interesting overall. Again, I don't doubt for everybody else. But nonetheless, it was really good to spend the time that I did with my family. And both Manshaan and I got so much work done over the summer because we wake up and there's nothing else to do. You wake up, you go on a walk, you go back to your computer and you work. And all of a sudden, we were just getting so many different projects, so many different things knocked out and set up for ourselves for fall. So, there were pros and cons with it of, like I said, we got a lot of work done over the summer, but at the same time, there were some weekends where I was like, oh my God, I am so tired. This is crazy. Like, nobody talked to me for the next 24 hours. Like, I can't look at a screen. Like, I just have to look at outside and up at the sky. So overall, I think that it was, again, it goes back to the transparency and honesty of, like, it was not easy mentally, physically, anything like that, emotionally. And I hope none of us, have to go through that again. But I think kind of going into the second wave of COVID, we all know how to manage it a little bit more, versus before, of literally, like, our entire civilization was like, what do we do? So yeah, that was kind of my backstory as to how I reacted to COVID and how it affected my life in a sense.
Nick and I had a very similar experience, actually, because on the day that we got shut down entirely, Nick and I were supposed to record a podcast that day, and we both were like, let's not today.
Yeah.
That would have been like the third or fourth episode we would have recorded, like, ever. So we were still, like, finding our footing, and we're like, everyone's a little distressed right now. Like, let's,
Yeah.
and then here we are in December, and I still haven't seen Nick in person since then.
Yeah, exactly. And I was talking to my phone, talking to my friend on the phone yesterday, and I was telling him, I was like, I can't believe we made it to December. Thinking back of this year, I mean, I'm so glad we are here, but I can't believe we made it to December. And I think that it was difficult over the first wave, just trying to see the light at the end of the tunnel, because we didn't know anything. We were getting new numbers. We were all glued to our phones, for the first at least months, if not after, because we were looking for updates, not only from, our jobs in our school, but our government and the world and everybody like that. So, but like I said, I think that now, kind of going into the second wave, we all know how to cope a little bit more. I think that our entire generation has found a new love of walks. I go on a walk every morning, and it's very, very nice, very meditating, very calming. But yeah, I don't know. There's pros and cons that have come out of this, but it's really important to focus on the amount of pros, because I know there's a long list of cons, but overall, it's been very interesting.
Absolutely, and I completely agree with you. I found a new love for walking and just being
Yeah.
outside. And kind of speaking to that, then I want to focus on those pros that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Manshaan and Lucy, given that we've all been stressing, and I actually do deeply appreciate your guys' honesty in that, like, hey, it's not all completely, like, cheerful and happy. Like, we're going to be stressed about this, but like you said, there are pros to it. So for the both of you, what have you been doing while at home, while indoors? What have you been doing to cope with the pandemic? What are some of the things, like hobbies or maybe things you picked up just to, like, kind of handle the situation and manage that kind of stress?
To be completely honest with you, I've completely tailored my sleep schedule. My friends hate it because they all want to, like, FaceTime and talk at like 11 o'clock at night. Um, and I doubt you're ever going to meet another college student that's about to say the same thing, but I go to bed at like 8:39 now,
Oh,
and my friends hate me for it. They literally, they call me Grandma Lucy now, because to be honest with you, we go through our days, Manshaan and I, and we're in so many, classes and meetings and work, that when we end our day at, sometimes it's 6, sometimes it's 10 o'clock at night, we are exhausted. Absolutely. Like, it is so hard for me to concentrate on homework or on school before or after work. So now I've tailored my sleep schedule to where I wake up at 5, I go on a walk, go on a run, do something, kind of outdoors for an hour in the neighborhood, come back and try to do, I don't know, internship work, post-grad work, school work. And then we kind of start our ASI day at 8 o'clock. I miss so many texts in the morning. All of a sudden I wake up and my phone has, like, blown up from 0 to 100 because I just miss all these different things. But that's something that it's really, really been good for me to get outside and really take a walk, and walk away from, the house and everything, to the screen. And whatever it is, listening to a YouTube video, an audiobook, music, listening to nature, honestly, that's kind of one of the biggest way I've been being able to cope with it.
what about you, Manshaan?
Yeah, I think so a few weeks after we first got the stay-at-home order and stuff like that. Actually, I started doing some workouts at home and stuff like that. I think it's a thing a lot of people started doing. But once we officially began our administration back in June, I kind of gave up on that. I was like, I'm too tired. Like I don't want to do this. So I'm actually trying to like figure out how I'm gonna get back started up for winter break because, yeah, it's not been good to my body, not working out and just sitting around all day. As far as other stuff, like I was saying earlier, there's a few classes on like the Sikh faith that I take, and I was actually trying to teach myself like Indian instruments, and because we have them at home, my mom and sister they play them, but I just know the drums. I don't know like the keyboard or anything like that, so it's kind of teaching myself that and stuff like that. Yeah, other than that, like I play chess on my phone between meetings and stuff like that, but I guess those are hobbies.
He's
Nice.
really musically talented. All of a sudden, we'll be like in a meeting or FaceTiming, and he's like playing the drums, air quotations, playing the drums, because all of a sudden, like he'll be like banging on the desk and everything like that, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, okay, or we
Y'all
just
start
start.
feeling it.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, no, I definitely feel you on that, brother. Like, it's been really hard to stay consistent with the home workouts. Like,
Yeah,
when it first popped up, I was like, yo, about to come out this looking like a god. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
and then, 2 months into it, I'm like, oh man, but I could just sleep all day. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
so I definitely feel you on that. I hope to follow your lead and, stay consistent for the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%.
That could be a new part of your administration is like home workouts for students.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
actually do through the Brick Campus Rec. They do offer like some home workouts, but I mean like even I haven't really been able to like attend those and take advantage of those because it's like over Zoom it's kind of hard. You know what I mean? And it's like you kind of just want to do it. I like working out outside, and it's kind of difficult to do that with the computer and stuff.
You know what we were thinking though, of having our team kind of do a little vlog or a little video of what everybody does for a workout. Because whether you go running in the neighborhood, you go to a walk neighborhood, you go to a gym and work out, whatever it may be. But we thought it'd be fun to kind of like take the students along to see what all the student government leaders do for getting outside and getting away from the screen. So it's a project, one of the many that we're working on.
I dig that. I think that'd be good for everybody. Because
Yeah.
Lord knows I'm tired of looking at my phone, computer all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too much, man. I got 20/20 vision, but I'm losing it like every day.
Yeah, no, my vision straight up got worse. I went to the optometrist like just for like a biannual checkup, and my left eye apparently like got worse.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, we're all taking L's. Like it's all bad news.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it kind of funny that like we're talking about getting away from screens and our break from the screen is watching something on TV instead?
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, well, at least it isn't 2 inches from my face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw this
Yeah.
I saw this tweet the other day, and it was like I reward myself on the weekend by watching the big screen after a week of watching the middle screen while also scrolling on my small screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, yeah, that's totally me.
I was in a meeting a few weeks ago with a SDSU professor actually, and he teaches kind of like cinematic arts at their school down there. And he kind of asked me a question that the entire entertainment industry is really trying to answer right now of how is it that you look at your computer screen, your Zoom screen, and you only last for, an hour and a half without wanting to take a break, but you can watch Netflix for 6 hours straight and keep watching. And they're trying to find, and obviously the entertainment part in a sense, but they're trying to find that like missing link. So you pose a great question, Andrew. I completely agree.
Well, in terms of like, I know you guys are super, super, super busy, but given that we have a lot more free time during the pandemic, what has been some of your like favorite movies and shows that you've been?
That's a great question. Okay, so one of my I live with one of my best friends, and her and I watched Emily in Paris. We were binge watching that for a little bit. It lasted us for about a week, and then we finished it, so not too long. But Emily in Paris is kind of a play off of Gossip Girl, Sex in the City, where you're like young and it's about fashion and it's about falling in love and it's like a rom-com. It's all this stuff, but we liked that one a lot. I got Disney Plus, which was so dangerous. So I've been watching a lot of Phineas and Ferb, if I'm going to be honest with you all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just to turn it on in the morning and walk around and clean up, and then all of a sudden Phineas and Ferb are on there, and everything like that. That's what I've been watching, which is so sad. But what are you gonna do?
What about you, Manshaan?
Honestly, like I haven't really been a huge TV person like during the pandemic. I think actually I was getting back into Naruto. I watched it on Netflix and I started watching it on like those random like streaming sites and stuff like that. But I stopped I think probably like around June, July-ish. There's like a Indian TV show that comes on YouTube that I watch. There's like a new episode like every week, but other than that, I don't really watch like I haven't really been watching TV to be honest.
I mean, if it makes you guys feel better, the show that I've been binging the most over the pandemic has actually been 90 Day Fiance. So it makes you guys feel better.
That.
But I don't know what that is. What is that?
It's a reality show. It's like a dating reality show where
Oh,
Americans date people and date and presumably get engaged to people in other countries.
oh,
And it's all about like long distance relationships and if people really know each other and all that kind of stuff. But I am like, I'm not even watching it ironically anymore. I'm like actually into it. And I'm like, oh wait, Big Ed said that.
Oh my
No
God.
way. Like I'm on my phone, like texting other people that are watching it. I'm like, are you serious that Jeffrey's on Varia? Like that's insane.
yeah. You know what? There actually was a show that I can kind of relate to what you're saying. It was like, it's like Indian matchmaking or something like that. I forgot exactly what it's called, but it came on Netflix, and I put it on randomly one day because I thought me and my family would just laugh at it, right? But like, halfway through the episode, you actually start getting kind of invested and you're like, oh, like, hopefully
Yeah.
they do well together, right? Like, and then like we're 3 episodes in, I'm like, bro, I've got to stop. Like, I can't do this.
I'm like,
Oh my God.
when will Darcy find love? Like,
Yeah.
Literally. Well, okay, so if we're talking reality TV, I will say that kind of my guilty pleasure has been keeping up with the Kardashians. I just am so way too involved in their life and what they do. It's horrible. My parents hate it. But yeah, that's been one for me of like, oh my gosh, what adventure are they going to go next? And like, is Kim going to hit Courtney or is Courtney going to hit Kim? It's ridiculous.
If there was a reality TV show around Beyonce, I don't think Lucy
Dude.
would come off of the TV.
No, I don't think I would. I think I would stop my entire life, give up school, give up everything just to like watch it. I'm a very, very big fan. If you didn't know, Beyonce definitely. I don't really have an idol, but if I had one, it would 100% be her. Yeah.
Not a bad choice.
Just side note, but yeah, my team makes fun of me for it all the time, but I love her. So it is what it is.
Hey, plenty of people do. I can't fault you on that one bit. Just for me personally, I'm not even ashamed to admit it. I love the Great British Baking Show. All right.
I love it.
Didn't think I could ever love British people for one, but let alone a show about baking, and they got me hooked. I'm so invested. Their little accents. Every time I hear like a Scottish person come on, I'm like, yo, I want them to win. That's what I've been kind of staying sane with. But speaking of food, as we kind of wrap up the portion of the personal stuff, I feel like this is a pretty good indicator of like a type of person and like what they say. So I wanted to ask you, especially you, Manshaan, is what's your favorite local joint? Now, I'm not talking about chains. I'm not talking about the big place everybody knows. I'm talking about local spots. There's only like 1 to like 3 locations anywhere. Like you can only go to them specific spots. So either near you or near Cal Poly, what's your favorite local joint?
Okay, so there's a Indian place. It's a little expensive, but it's near, on Dime Bar Boulevard. There's like a Taco Bell, there's like a McDonald's, and there's like a what's that? Cheap Sprouts, right? In that Sprouts Plaza, there's a place called Dilivala. It's a little expensive Indian food, but it's pretty good. I like that place. There's a place in Pomona called Maria's Tacos. I don't know if you've ever been there, but
Maria's is great.
yeah, no, I love Maria's. What do I get? I'm vegetarian, so there's something really good vegetarian there that I would get a lot, but I forgot what it is. Other places, I honestly don't eat out that much, but I think those are 2 local joints that I really like.
That's probably for the best, but
yeah,
those are still great options. What about you, Lucy? What's the local joint, whether it's here in SoCal or up north?
So I don't want to I don't want to like plug the restaurants, but also they're just so good. Okay, there's three that come to mind, and I promise you, I'm not saying this just because I'm ASI president, but I actually go here a lot. Is Brewworks. I get the chicken bacon ranch pizza like all the time.
Mhm.
And for my 21 and up students, their Moscato wine, a glass of their Moscato wine and that pizza pair perfectly together. I'm a hospitality major, so I'm into all the pairing of the wines and everything. So it would be that. I think that for every CPP student, you have to try Ginza, which is literally right next to campus, right next to that Starbucks on Temple. Love Ginza. I've ate there ever since I was a freshman, and also, um, to be honest with you, I don't know. I think it's called Alberto's or something like that. Carne asada fries. I obviously don't eat very healthy when I'm talking of like Ginza pizza and carne asada fries, but carne asada fries. Those. Oh my gosh, they could be the death of me. Oh yeah, I get them way too frequently. But those are amazing too. Those I think would be my top three. Oh no, so one more.
Mhm.
Pho Super Bowl, not Pho Super Bowl. Right next to the Indian restaurant Manshaan was talking
Oh, I
about,
know what
which
you're
I've
talking about.
ate
That
there
is a good
too, and
place. I like that place.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in love with the Indian place that you mentioned. I ate there with my friends once. Oh my gosh, it's awesome, and they're so nice in there and everything. Um, so
Oh,
I'd
you know
go
what?
there, and then go ahead.
I forgot. There's a place on what is it? I think it's Temple right before it becomes Diamond Boulevard. There's like a sandwich place. It's called like the
Is there really?
99 Stop or something like that. Does anyone know what I'm talking about?
99 Uh-uh. Is it past Ginza?
No, it's like in that stretch of Temple Avenue where there's like a entrance into the 57.
Hmm.
I'm blanking on it, but that's a
Is
really
there
good
really?
place as well. Yeah.
Huh, interesting. On the left-hand side, like when you're going up the hill?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I know which like little shopping area you're talking about, but I've never been there.
Yeah.
If
Okay,
you
we're gonna have
remember,
to go there.
we'll plug it in the comments.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay.
I, as much as like I wish they would pay us for the sponsorship, basically, make sure
Yeah.
to plug it 'cause these all sound like super bomb places. I know a couple of the joints you're talking about, like Ginza is amazing. Carne
Yes.
asada fries are great. I'm gonna
Yeah,
put you guys on real quick. Two local
please.
joints for anybody interested here in the Pomona area is gonna be Donahue's Chicken, which is there's three different joints, but the only good one is in Pomona. It's right there in Gary and on the southern part of Pomona, but it's basically Raising Cane's before Raising Cane's. It's super
Really?
good. All they got is fries, chicken tenders, and buttery biscuits. But it's so good. It's so bomb. Highly recommended. Donahue's Chicken, and the other joint is right there in the Diamond Bar kind of Pomona area, right next to the school. It's called Boulevard 574.
That's what I was talking about. That's what I knew it was a number. I was like, I don't know why 99 came into my mind. Boulevard. Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
See, same wave. You already know.
Yeah.
You know how good it is. So
There
there
you
you go,
go.
Broncos. Double endorsement. Boulevard 574. Can't recommend it enough. It is a fantastic place. Usually a lot of Cal Poly people work there, but great drinks, great sandwiches, amazing just snack food and brunch stuff. Can't recommend it enough.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. We're gonna go try it. I'm gonna have to go try it, pick something up.
I have
Hey, bro,
to.
so I gotta ask you actually, Nick.
Yes.
In high school, was the Denny's on Temple and what? Not Temple. It's Temple and Mission. You know that Denny's right there?
Yes. Yeah.
Was that kind of the spot for you guys? Because I remember going there after like every event and stuff like that. That Denny's right there.
So funny enough, like I'm from all over the IU. So like I live down in Pomona. My family is out there, but I didn't grow up like out there. I grew up like bouncing around. Funny enough though, that Denny's, my church, whenever we got out of like Sunday school and stuff, we would go there. So
Yeah.
that was a spot for me, just not in high school or anything like that.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll
I've got a lot of memories at that Denny's.
I bet. I bet.
Yeah.
If
All
you
right,
don't
and
late night
we're actually gonna transition over now.
Yeah.
We got the personal stuff. I feel like we got a good thing going here. I feel like we know you guys, but I'm gonna toss it to Andy. He's gonna take the lead on this one. Let's get into a little more like policy kind of things.
For
Yeah.
sure. I was just gonna say, if you don't have late night memories at a Denny's, did you even really go to high school?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I agree.
exactly. Exactly.
If you want to jump on in, I feel like late night at a Denny's is a good transition because that's where all like the deepest conversations that's where all the
Yeah.
conversations have happened. So if we want to jump into
Yeah.
some more like policy questions and just some of the more shall we say, serious questions. How has the
Yeah.
government adjusted its operations to adapt to the pandemic and shift to online communication?
And I think that that was one of the first things we worked on is like, how are we going to communicate with each other? And we've actually gotten a lot of virtual resources. It's been interesting watching the shift from in-person working to virtual working. We use a couple of different programs to kind of track our progress because there's so many student government leaders. It's hard to keep up with like 28 different people and everybody has different projects and everything like that. So the first thing that comes to mind, we actually use something called monday.com where that tracks our entire progress as an administration. We not only use Zoom, but we use Teams. A lot of us we all use GroupMe too. We have like a big student government GroupMe. And then we've all got our own, separate group chats for all of our committees and everything like that. The transition was pretty good. It was actually pretty smooth. It was just the only reason it was wonky is because we didn't know, we had never been in the situation before. So we didn't know exactly how to do this. But transitioning wasn't too difficult once we really laid the foundation and not even laid the foundation, but really set into stone our action plan as to what we all wanted to accomplish as an administration. I feel like that's kind of when we took the training wheels off, because as a team, we all sat there and we were like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to accomplish it, and delegating. You're going to take this on, you're going to take this on, you're going to oversee this project. So that's kind of how we transitioned in a sense.
Yeah, and I think internally it's been like pretty good. The only thing is like, a lot of us wish that there was more opportunities for like, non-official social interactions between the team and stuff like that, which, we try to do here and there. For the most part, our meetings and stuff like that, they're all on Zoom, they're all public. I think, one of the biggest like, conundrums for us is like how to actually reach out to students, right? Because before, like when we were campaigning, I was having so much fun. Honestly, I'm not that much of an extrovert, but like I love just to going around talking to people. Yeah, I mean Lucy did as well, but like I love just going around talking to people on campus, right? When they're just like, sitting around saying like, "What's up? Like, how do you feel about this?" Right? But like, how do you do that in a virtual place, right? So like, there's a few things we've been doing. Like, I've been utilizing the Reddit and the Discord to try to like, gauge student opinion and stuff like that. And now we've been using the official ASI Instagram to kind of advertise like actions that student government has taken, right? And I feel like in some ways, almost like the student government, like the student body is more aware of what ASI is doing than last year, right? Or like, the years that I know. Because we've been like, posting like, ASI posted this resolution on, or they passed this resolution, and we posted that on the Instagram. And, the different actions that we've taken. So it's definitely been pros and cons to going virtual.
Definitely. I think you hit on a really good topic of just how hard it is to be social with people still. And like, especially because I was the kid that would always just sit in the BSC. I'd have my Subway and I'd just be reading comic books, and I regret. I'm like, oh, I should have just gone up to people and started talking to them, because if I had known that we were going to be gone for a full year, I would have taken way more advantage of the in-person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But in terms of like, now that we've kind of like lost the in-person interaction and stuff, what are some of your like primary goals for like helping the student body to get through this shift to online classes? Now that we can't see each other in person, we can't see our counselors in person, we can't do, what's your guys' plan for kind of helping the student body shift to all online?
I think that, that was a really big topic in our head that a question we were trying, and a problem we were trying to solve in the beginning of the semester. I think that now that, we are about to be halfway through our administration, it's kind of less of, how are we going to help the students transition, and more of, okay, we're here, we all know how to do it. Now, how do we keep the focus of students? I don't know if you know this, but 25% of our student body didn't register for classes for the spring. And that's kind of been a big push for administration and us recently of really getting our students back up and running. And with that 25% not registering, there's an entire slew of questions that comes along as to, why is that happening? Is it the relationship between the professor and the student? Is it classes? Is it, mental isolation or, Zoom isolation, whatever. So I think right now it's less of helping them transition and more of just trying to keep up the motivation, keep up the focus. The fact that we all know what it's like to go through a virtual semester officially. And now we're sitting here, fully knowing that what we did this semester, we're going to have to repeat the same exact thing next semester. So right now we're starting to enter into conversations of when we start next semester, how are we going to get ourselves as students while also the entire student body to get up every day and be motivated to sit on Zoom and, learn through the screen for another, 6 months. And it's a hard problem to solve, but I think that we've been able to find some solutions so far. I think that one of them is really looking at the relationship between the students and the professors this semester, and being able to assess and evaluate how well our professors did. And I'm personally very, morally for professional growth. So everything we did this semester, whether a professor, whether you're, running the school, whether you're a student, you should want to do better next semester than you did this semester. So looking back the past 2 months and figuring out what was I lacking, what were my weaknesses, what were my strengths, and how do I build off that for next semester. So right now, these evaluations for the professors are going to be very important because that's what's going to make us as a entire university better than we were for fall. So right now, it's just how are we going to be better as a singular student and as a community of students for next fall. Next spring.
Don't say that, Lucy. Don't say that.
Yeah, not fall, just spring.
I thought we got to.
We're not there yet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna freak everybody out, all the listeners right now. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is she trying to tell us? No, just for spring.
Right, accidentally let it slip, guys. We're never coming out of this.
Yeah.
What about you, Manshaan? How are you feeling about keeping people focused during these crazy times?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how we can really help people keep focused, right? But some things we've been trying to do to help just the student body in general is since July we've been trying to get this remote proctoring policy, because we know that programs like Respondus, ProctorU, Proctorio, a lot of professors have been using this to for their students' exams, but there's a lot of questions about privacy, data mining, even just the fact that it picks up your every movement, right? The way your eyes move and stuff like that. Questions about equity, because someone has a kid, right? The kid, bursts into the room during an exam. They're obviously going to look at the kid, right? And just people with large families and stuff like that. So we've been kind of working on that. There's going to be a subcommittee within the academic senate for that. Other stuff the grading options, that's something we've been kind of working on since early October, late September, to try to get back for the student body. But I think also kind of something that, we saw when we, since we've been in these positions, is that we kind of need specific positions within student government regarding, one, expertise on academic policies, and two, expertise on IT. Right? We used to have a position called Secretary of Academic Affairs but it was removed from student government 2 years ago, right? We're still kind of searching why was it removed and stuff like that, because that would have been very nice to have for the grading options and for a lot of these stuff that have to do with academic policies. An officer of IT, because we're trying to argue that these softwares are intrusive and they collect data and stuff like that, but I'm not a computer science major, right? If I had to go toe to toe with someone who's a information and analyst specialist, right, I'm gonna obviously lose that debate. So kind of thinking about how we can better prepare future administrations as well for these issues that have come up.
Definitely. I think that's I think it's a really helpful thing that you guys are doing, and this is not a way to pat me and Nick on the back, but I think a really helpful thing you guys are doing is just coming on a show like this and being transparent and having an open conversation about it is really going to help students too, because I don't know about you guys, but once this whole semester started, like I felt totally alone.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure every other person had this thought, but I felt like I was the only person that didn't know what was going on in my classes.
Right. No, exactly.
I think by you guys being open about that, it's really going to help students go like, okay, even the student body president and vice president most of the time don't know what's going on in their classes. I put words in your mouth, but I'm just, speaking.
No.
But
no, I'm definitely like one of the people in the group me who's like, hey guys, when is the final again? Like, do we have a final? Like that's definitely me in a few of my classes.
Yeah, I'm like, it's still even still happening.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's easy to forget. It's super easy to forget that you're still a student, because like a lot of my classes, everything's just due Sunday at midnight. So during the week, I forget that I'm in these classes. You know what I mean? Because I'm just thinking about, I'll do it during the weekend.
Sure.
Yeah. We've been in meetings recently, and the administration asks us, hey, how are the students doing? How's the student body? And again, recent topic has been how students, have all of a sudden stopped going to class. And I'll sit there and I'm like, yeah, students just, they're bored. They don't want to go to class. It's all of a sudden everybody, just feels lazy. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, Lucy, stop talking about yourself. Like I'm like, don't talk about the student body. Like you're not doing it too. Like there's been plenty of times where I'm just like, I don't really want to go to class today, but you have to make yourself. But yeah, there's been numerous times where I'm like, Lucy, like, don't just blame this on everybody else. You're doing it too.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really good transition to what I wanted to talk to you guys about in terms of like the students' mental health, because obviously everyone has been through quite a year. But when we were coming up with the script for this show and going through some of the questions we wanted to ask you guys, I noticed that a big part of your campaign's action plan was the focus on mental health services on campus. And this is pre-shutdown, that you guys are focusing on this pre-shutdown. So considering everything that the student body has been through in 2020, what are some important things that students can do to maintain their mental health? And also, what are some campus resources that you would recommend they reach out to in terms of supporting their collective mental health?
Yeah, I think mental health is definitely a very important project within our administration this year. Like you said, and it was even pre-COVID too, pre the pandemic. I think that next semester, personally, I know that I want to push mental health more. I personally, as a student government leader, I didn't push it to the extent that I wanted to push it. I think that it is so important that I just want to find more time to be able to push it next semester, and not only advocate for it, but also market it to students. Andrew, you just mentioned what resources are there. And obviously, the first thing I mentioned is CAPS. And how you can go in for counseling and see our counselors in there and everything like that. And then they also have a lot of outside resources too that they can, kind of introduce you to and connect you to. I think that if CAPS isn't a road that you want to go down, then a lot of it is, your support system and drinking water and meditation or walking. It's really, you have to tailor it to yourself and what you personally like. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, I really like walking. And that's kind of, you could say like my therapy once a day. And I think that everybody needs some type of little mini therapy check-in with yourself a day, especially because of the times that we're in right now. So whether that's calling, a friend or your parents and venting to them, or just having a conversation, or chilling for an hour and watching whatever YouTube, Netflix, TV, whatever it may be, sitting and meditating. We talk to President Coley about that all the time. She gets up every morning, she meditates. So it's really finding what works for you and what makes you feel better. But after another resource I would really like people to turn to is the Brick, because they've been doing a lot of virtual kind of fitness classes and fitness tutorials. And a lot of times when you go online and you want to register for some sort of virtual fitness, show or whatever, everybody wants you to pay, $19.99 a month, or, get this year for $12, whatever it may be. But because we have the resource at our fingertips, the brick has been really good at putting those resources, putting videos, examples online on Instagram for everybody. So I think that that's a really good resource too. A lot of my friends have been using that and they really like it so far.
Yeah. And I think just in terms of like CAPS and stuff like that, because CAPS is a great resource, but it's definitely on our action plan to try to, work with them and improve it, right? So we have had a couple of meetings with them, and, I think one back in October, they were saying that a student will, once you contact CAPS, you'll definitely like be able to like, talk to someone within a day who will ascertain what your need is, right? And then from then, the earliest appointment time is like within 10 days, which is still a while, right? Like 10 days, 10 business days means 2 weeks, right? So we are kind of looking at, this is something across the CSU, the ratio of counselors to students, right? I think at every single CSU, it's currently not according to what like, the APA, the American like Psychological Association standards are for a college campus. I think the standard is like 1 per 1,200, I want to say, and I think we're like 1 per 1,500 plus or something like that, right? So, but then it does come in again, like where is that money going to come from, right? Who's going to pay for those extra counselors? And that's something that we're trying to figure out. Next steps are try to look at the student health fee budget and looking within there, look at what they're spending money on and see if we can advocate for like, hey, maybe instead of spending money on this, you can spend money on more counselors to help students, right? But in general, like what can maybe a student do for their own mental health? I think, like you were saying, Andrew, like we kind of saw how much we depend on like social interaction that we didn't know before the pandemic, right? So I think if you look at my bar and you just look at the different clubs on there and see if they're I know a lot of clubs are kind of in a very weird situation where it's like they're not getting that much attendance, they're not really having that much meetings, but look at the clubs that are having meetings and maybe just hop in to their Zoom and see what's up, right? I also want to just quickly plug an app. It's called Cork, CORQ. That's basically like my bar as an app, right? So you can literally download this app from the App Store. Not a lot of people know about it. You can sign in with your Bronco ID and you can literally see all the clubs on campus and see all the events that are going on. That's on my bar. So kind of doing that, I think will kind of help a lot of students, with that feeling of isolation.
Definitely. I think those are both great ways that, or multiple great ways that you guys have suggested, because I know me personally, we were just thrown into this situation and I didn't really realize like what a toll it was going to take after a while. Like,
Yeah.
silly me, I thought we were getting an extra week of spring break at the beginning.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And now here we
100%.
are, the world's longest spring break.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
And
Well, I mean, in terms of like other services that are on campus, we were going through your action plan as well, and you guys really focused on the expansion and support of both like the poly pantry and emergency housing. So like, I was just wondering, like, what are some of your plans for adjusting these services during the pandemic, and how can students sort of take advantage of services on campus that seem like they would strictly be for on campus? How can they take advantage of those even though we're all virtual right now?
So I'll kind of tackle a poly pantry if you want to tackle housing, Manshaan. But so with poly pantry, one of our first goals as an entire, not even just student government, but ASI overall, was to try to reopen the poly pantry. That was a conversation that was started midsummer of how do we get this back up and running. It is argumentatively one of the best resources that we have on our campus. So to get that back up and running for our students was almost imperative. Basically, good news, we were able to get poly pantry open and back up running again. And it has been so successful ever since. Once they opened up their mobile food pantry, you sign up for an appointment almost. You schedule a time to go in, a date to go in. You do your whole drive-through, or if you're walking, you can walk up to the table, they put your bag on a table, they walk away, you pick up your bag. And it had to be very thought out. It had to be okayed by not only just the ASI board of directors, but by President Coley, by, county and city, health and law officials and everybody like that. So There are multiple things that had to go on behind the scenes to make it happen, but it opened October 28th. And for the first few weeks, everything was booked, literally back to back. Everything, they were so busy, which is awesome. That's exactly what they wanted. And now they've had this consistent flow of people coming in and out, and they've been really big on marketing this. It's been going very, very well. So that's how we kind of plan to transition. And when Manshaan and I were campaigning, the first point on our action plan was the pantry and wanting to expand it. Originally, how we thought we were going to expand it was a physical expansion. That's what we were hoping for. I guess you could consider this a physical expansion too, moving outside the BSC to deliver groceries. But nonetheless, knowing that our poly pantry was able to go from in person, like we're used to a mobile food pantry, was definitely a big win for us as ASI, us as a student body. So thankfully now we are feeding so many other people. I know that it's been really good for our basic needs team to, even though they're 6 feet away from everybody, just seeing everybody, seeing their team, it's been amazing. And we've seen pictures of their operations within the BSC of how they put food in bags. It is so unbelievably organized. It's ridiculous. Everything, they're set up in Ursa Major, and they've got tables, they've got hand sanitizer, they've got all these different things. They've added personal protection equipment to the poly pantry. So you can get masks, you can get gloves, you can get hand sanitizer. And when we come back in person, they hope to carry that on too. They are really, really big on including the PPE within the poly pantry.
No, I absolutely love what you guys have been doing with the Poly Pantry. It's one of the, I think, most standout things back in March when you guys were running, because Poly Pantry is a very special place to me. I worked really close with the director just when I worked at the games room. So I really appreciate everything you guys have done to kind of facilitate and expand that service for people, because I think it's great, especially with so many people being food insecure and, having not a lot of resources right now. I think it's really awesome that you guys have done that for people. And just kind of continuing with what you guys have done with your platform and the way you've ran the administration so far, this year's brought a lot of things. One of the most prominent being a lot of social movements, a lot of social justice movements, whether it be the Black Lives Matter, or most recently you guys coming out and standing in solidarity with the Armenian students with the conflict in Azerbaijan. So I wanted to ask you guys, given that, what made you personally want to have ASI take these stands in solidarity with Black Lives Matter, take these stands with solidarity with Armenian students and other social issues? Why did you feel like it was important for ASI to take a stand on this when maybe other organizations and student governments may have wanted to to stay neutral or to stay silent on it and not really get involved? Why take the stand?
Nick, that's a great question. Manshaan, I keep talking. You talk. Go ahead.
For sure. I think, why take this stance? Because it's not the only job of ASI, just take stances and that's all we do. But I think it is, one of the facets that has been kind of neglected by ASI in the past is using our voice as the entire student body, right? Because technically when the Associated Students Incorporated takes a stance, it means that the students of Cal Poly Pomona are taking this stance, right? And when it comes to, social movements that sometimes people are like, oh, what is taking a stance going to do, right? Like what material gain does it help, right? But I think what's kind of been neglected is the sentimental gain, right? Like the support that it helps a movement in terms of we can say that, this college's student government is in solidarity with us. This, this organization is in solidarity with us. And I think it also, shows those students who are affected by those things that, we hear them, and that the campus, if not the campus community, then the student community at least hears them and stands in solidarity with them. I think that's the value it brings. And, that's why we have taken these stances. I'm not personally I don't personally think it's we're gonna we're gonna reach out and say okay, what stances do you want us to take? It's when students come to us and are we want ASI to take a stance on this. But I think that's when we should definitely consider it, right? I think political activism on our campus it happens, but it's not as big as like, UCLA, Berkeley, where they have like huge on-campus populations and people protesting like, every day. And I'm not saying we should go to that extreme, but I think we're at the other extreme right now where it's like we never really see any political activism ever, and kind of, finding that happy medium.
100%. And I think that Manshaan and I are really big on the happy medium. We were just talking about this, I want to say 2 days ago. The fact that we didn't want our administration to be, very far this way or very far this way. We wanted to find it, like you said, a happy medium. Nick, you mentioned why take a stance on the social movements that we have? Why not stay neutral? We are just leaders of student government. We aren't just leaders of the student body. We need to be leaders of our generation. When we leave these positions, it's up to us whether or not we want to, never stand up for anything ourselves, never take a stance on anything, or try to become leaders within our community and, again, our generation. And with that, I personally, as ASI president, I am not a type of leader that wants to sit by and be neutral on things that are so important. I think that if you have the privilege of being in this position and have the privilege of this platform, then you need to use it for good. And using it for good means, in my eyes, doing your research so you just don't stand up on stage and say whatever comes out of your mouth. You need to be well prepared for whatever questions you get, whatever comments you get. And every time we stand with a group of students, most recently the Armenian students, we make sure we're doing our research ahead of time. We make sure that we understand the situation to its extent. And then from there on out, use our platform to make that statement and take it on from there. Recently, I think that it was really important that we stood with our students on all the social matters that we've, kind of run through for the past few months. So I think that that's why it's so important to not only continue doing that work, but hopefully the rest of the administrations after us will continue to do that too. Last year, the past few years, we've seen a lot of racial injustices on our campus, and Manshaan and I came into office and we wanted to be the administration that really helped lead that charge in, having those conversations. Again, we had the platform to do so. So you need to take the platform as a student leader and be able to use it for good for your students. We represent 29,000 students just this semester. So it's like you have the privilege, you have the power. So what are you going to do with it to make your students' lives better? Because at the end of the day, like truthfully, no matter how many meetings we have, no matter how Zoom's tired we are, we truthfully really love our positions. We really do. Manshaan and I, again, we were just talking this morning of how we're excited for winter break because we get to actually just focus on ASI instead of ASI and school. No offense to my professors, no offense to my teachers or anything like that. But we're very excited to kind of get back to work and, just be able to focus on the students for the next few weeks and see what else we want to accomplish within spring semester.
Absolutely. I really appreciate that answer. I really appreciate where you guys are coming from in that. And, we're journalists. We're supposed to remain neutral on things, but I think, taking a stand is important. It's important to have some kind of convictions, especially, the higher you get in positions of power. So just know, at least for me personally speaking, I really appreciate what you guys have done and coming out and having those kind of convictions. So jumping right back into it then, I wanted to ask you, before I toss it off to Andy, you mentioned that you wanted to, essentially future-proof things. You wanted to kind of get the ball rolling on different policies and different standards you're going to be setting for the administration. So that way, once you guys transition away and you exit your positions, that the next generation that comes in are going to be able to pick up that mantle. So I wanted to ask you, what are some ways, even though we're in the pandemic, even though we're all virtual, what are some ways that you would encourage students to still get involved in ASI and just get involved with the campus in general?
I would really encourage running for an elected position within ASI, even if you hate ASI, right? Because like last year, when I was a second year and I applied for my position in student government for last year, at that time I hated ASI. I was a club president. I was like, you know what? ASI keeps stopping me from being able to fully function as a club. Why do I need to fill out all this dumb paperwork? And the VP elect Rachel, she was like, you should apply and see what happens. And that's what I did. And I really like, I think I commented this on the Reddit a little while back. I was like, if you want to dissolve ASI, that decision is up to the board of directors. You should run on that and introduce the idea and see what happens, right? I really encourage students just in general to run. There's also, you can always apply to be a student at large on a committee. So we have students who aren't elected by the student body necessarily, but they can apply and take up positions on ASI committees as well as university committees, right? Where, random stuff like retroactive withdrawal, there's a committee for that and stuff like that. I think those are ways. I think you can always reach out to us and make your voices heard, right? I hope you plug our emails if you can, or even our Instagrams
Absolutely.
and stuff like that. And you can always DM us, email us, and say like, hey, I want this to be considered.
No, 100%. We'll be sure to plug both your Instagrams and your emails on the screen. That way folks can go ahead and know where to find you, where to reach out to you guys.
Definitely. And
That'd be great.
thank you for being so open about it too. Cause I'll tell you one thing, like I get like 2 DMs. I'm like, oh, would everyone just leave me alone? Thank you guys for being and letting us put that
Yeah,
out.
of course.
But in terms of, like Nick said, we're gonna start to wrap this up. But in terms of like looking towards the future, you guys were talking about, leaving your positions and leaving things open and transitioning towards the future. What are some ways that you will plan to facilitate the transition back to in-person classes once they become an option again? Like I know it's kind of up in the air when that's going to happen. That might be a long time after. I know Lucy said that it might be fall. I'm just kidding. But
No, yeah, I could give you a little bit of an update on that if you're interested.
yes, definitely.
So conversations have been started around that topic as to what is fall going to look like. We know that summer will be virtual. That's been announced. When it comes to fall, what they're looking at is having more in-person classes, but it's more looking like a hybrid option. Again, it's still up in the air, but we've had many conversations with administration, and a lot of administration has hit me up and said, this is kind of where we're at in the process. Again, I can promise you this, everybody wants to go back to in-person. Everybody, that is what everyone is working for within administration. When it comes to how we're going to help people transition back. Again, I don't know where we will be, whether we're graduated or, we're still here. Manshaan and I do plan to graduate with in spring, so next semester. But I know that President Coley, when it comes to her transition, she wants to have an entire huge party on the soccer field. I personally think that's the perfect way to transition, is to say hi to everybody again, and when it's safe and everything like that. And but I know that I hope that it is a celebratory welcome back. That's what I'm hoping for. I think that everybody really needs that, and everybody's really looking forward to something. So hopefully, that's in the plans too. But as long as coming back is, we're doing it in the most safe way possible, I think that that's what's going to be the most important factor.
Definitely. Manshaan, how do you feel about the facilitating the transition back to in-person?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I think, we should push for is the health center offering the vaccine, right? So that it can very easily administrate students coming back on campus, because if the vaccine's there, they take the vaccine. What Moderna came out and said it was like 100% success rate, efficacy rate, or something like that. So, I mean, we're hearing very good news about the vaccine, and I think it's time to really start advocating for the vaccine to be able to be available for students so that they can come back properly, safely, because safety is obviously a concern as well. But if we have these, purportedly amazing vaccines, let's advocate to get those to students so we can return in person. Because at the end of the day, as hard as our professors and everyone is trying to make online school engaging and stuff like that, we know that for the vast majority of people, it's either not working or it's not as good. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely. It's I think the hardest part for me is gonna be trying to learn how to find parking again.
Oh God.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely. I'm not missing that.
No.
yeah, I mean, I don't have to DM you about it anymore, but if you guys want to focus on that too.
Yeah, we are still kind of like, transportation is still kind of like, something we're thinking about. And Danny Wood, the new transportation director, has a lot of cool ideas about how to better facilitate parking and transportation and stuff. Because once we come back in person, we're going to have a lot of people who haven't driven in a while. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be more accidents on campus, but, just trying to see what we can do about that.
Yeah, let's hope
Definitely. I
not.
mean, well, one step at a time, right? One
Yeah.
step at a time. Well, thank you guys both for coming on here. Like, this is a great way to end our season, and it's a great way to kind of transition into the spring semester by having that. Thank you just for letting the student body hear you guys talk and, have a more open and free flowing conversation. I think it's really going to help the student body. It made me feel a lot better.
And
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I wanted to add one last thing before you let go. This will be the final question, but I think it's important to kind of end on this note, and hopefully it's a hopeful one. I want to ask you both individually, Lucy and Manshaan, what has been your favorite memory? Because I'm the same boat. I'm in the same boat that I'm going to be graduating next semester. So with everything going on, it's been a little bit of a wild ride being here at Cal Poly. But I want to ask you both, what has been your favorite memory so far as a Bronco at Cal Poly Pomona?
Oh, it's a deep question, man.
Yeah, it's a really good question. Yeah.
So,
Oh
okay,
my gosh.
I think I got it.
You want to go first? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I was president of the Sixth Student Association in my second year at Cal Poly Pomona, and we did this thing for the first time called the Kavi Darbar, which basically means a court of poets, right? And we had it at the Agriscape Center, right by the farm store. There's like this really nice place. We got like, not a lot of people there, like 50, 60, I'd say. But it was a really great experience seeing like just seeing my community come on campus, and we had people from other schools come as well. It was just a night of poetry. People sang, people gave their own renditions. We gave out free hydro flasks and stuff like that. Had hello pizza. That was, I think that was it. Yeah.
I think my
That was my
favorite,
favorite.
and this also gets tied into what I think I'm going to miss the most, and what I miss the most right now too is honestly just walking across campus and seeing people. Whether you're meeting somebody new, whether you haven't seen somebody in a long time, or it's your best friend and you run into them, you're like, hey, wait, what are you doing here? Oh my God, okay, you want to get pizza after? Yeah, okay, I'll see you in a bit. That's what I miss the most. Walking into events within the BSC, or right in front of the brick in that stage, or walking in the brick, I 100% miss that the most. And that's probably overall, I know that's a lot of memories in one, but just running into people and saying hi to people and being able to meet new students, and God, I sound like such an ASI president, but just honestly, like communicating with people, seeing people in person, and really being able to communicate with them and say hi and meet new people, and everything like that. I think that is the whole socialization part of college. That is what I'm going to miss the most. That's also probably my favorite college memories, the community that I've built for myself at Cal Poly Pomona.
Absolutely beautiful. I appreciate you both sharing that. I think I agree on both fronts. That sounds like an amazing experience. And look at you being all humble, Manshaan downplaying to be like, oh, it was only 50 or 60 people, not that many. That sounds like a lot to me. It sounds like it was a poppin' show and a great time. And Lucy, I completely agree with you. Socializing it's getting that college experience of just catching your best friend walking, to class. Like it's been amazing. So hopefully we'll get to that someday, whether or not we're going to be here for it, but I hope other people do. And with that being said, Lucy and Manshaan, truly thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being here. This has been an amazing interview. This is actually me and Andy's final hurrah. So I really appreciate getting the opportunity to speak with you both and having you here. So thank you, truly.
Hey, well, thank you to both of you. I know that, everybody's always like, Lucy, Manshaan, you're so busy, but you too, there's a lot that you do for our entire student body too. So seriously, like from us, from student government, like thank you for everything you do for our student body. You all bring the truth, you bring the news to our students. And, whether it's a very heated discussion or, a less heated discussion, you all wake up every day and you do your jobs, and everybody's really enjoyed your podcast. So thank you for everything you've done for our student body.
Yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate everything the Post does.
Thank
you.
you so much. I look forward to partying with you guys on the soccer when we can.
Okay, good.
Hell yeah.
Good.
Fingers crossed.
I'm afraid we're going to be graduated, but we'll come back one way or the other.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely come back.
After
All right.
party. We'll be back for
100%.
the after party.
Yep. One last hurrah, right?
Absolutely.
Seriously.
Well, we
Thank
hope to
you
catch
so
you guys
much.
there. And thank you guys so much again for joining us. We really appreciate both of you coming on. Be sure to everybody that's listening, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to follow and reach out to Lucy and Manshaan if you have any questions, if you want to get involved, just anything like that. We're going to put all their socials and their contacts here on the screen in the description. And with that, Broncos, that's going to conclude our season finale of season 2 of the Polypod. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you in the next one. And with that, Broncos, that is going to conclude our season finale of the second season of the Poly Podcast. Me and Andy want to thank you so much for joining us, for everyone who's tuned in every week to listen to our show. And, with everything going on this year, it's been a wild one to say the least. And I'm so thankful that you guys have joined us on this journey and getting through it and just tuning in every week. So genuinely speaking, thank you guys so much for watching.
Yes, thank you guys for joining us, both for our first season at the beginning of this year, right when the pandemic hit, and coming back for our second season during this super crazy semester. Like I said, it's a semester that none of us could have predicted, but we hope we were able to help you connect back with the campus a little bit and give a little bit of that sense of community that we're all missing right now. Thank you again for everyone who has supported us, and we look forward to seeing you in the spring.
Yeah, and all things must come to an end. So just as our season is ending, this is actually going to be me and Andy's final season here on the Poly Podcast. We are no longer going to be the host moving forward, as I'm going to be graduating and Andy is going to be moving on to bigger and brighter things. That being said, do keep an eye out for all the amazing things that the Polypod is going to evolve into. And who knows, you may see us again soon enough. We may come back and do a little something extra for the Poly Post here and there for the spring semester. But I just want to reiterate again, thank you guys so much for joining us. Even if me and Andy do not come back, it has been a pleasure and an amazing ride in a not so amazing year. So we really truly want to thank you guys for joining us and tuning in, and we hope that you stick with the show even when we're gone, just to see what amazing things that I'm sure that the Poly Post and whoever takes over after us is going to come up with.
Thank you again, everybody. It was really, really nice being able to virtually spend this crazy year with all of you Broncos. So have a good one and enjoy your winter break.
Take care, everybody. Be safe and have a good one.